our state while forcing our government into exile. This act deprives the United Cooperative Nation of their means of subsistence. As we stated before, we had water. Water is substance. Am I right?
Yes.
Did we have water on our land?
Yes.
Are you paying for water now?
Yes.
So what does that mean? That means you were forced from your substance and forced to go pay for water that you got free. You get a water bill. Who gives anyone the authority to charge for water? This is literally violations of international law. Questions? I can go forward with this, but it's quite lengthy. But this is basic. This is the next part would be our judgment, which we requested from the court. There's two courts. A lot of people don't want to be confused. There's two courts. There's the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice is the court that settles disputes. Then you have the International Criminal Court, where they just got the jurisdiction in 2004, where they hear criminal proceedings against heads of states or government officials for crimes such as crimes of aggression, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and crimes of genocide. So there's two separate courts that we're going to be involved in. One court we'll be involved in the International Court of Justice, where this application has been instituted as United Nuwapian Nation, or the United Nation of Nuwapia versus the United States of America. And it has to be heard. And they are afraid. Literally, they are literally afraid. When we call, they know exactly who we are. They're trying to investigate around. They know that they have to let him out. And they know that that day will be the day of their doom. Because for one, the amount of money they have to pay him for each day, each second they had him in there, was all a part of his plan.
It's okay to clap. It's okay.
As you read, you heard before, we mailed it to him. They didn't want to give it to him. Of course, the prison was like, they backed up. They did whatever it took not to get this to him. As I told the family in Trinidad, and told the family in Philadelphia and DC, some of those brothers are here. When he got the application, you know what his words were? This is what I've been waiting for the entire time. This fight, what we are in, is what he's been waiting for. Because it's worldwide now. This is what they've set it up for. So the magnitude of this, when the Nuwapians stand up, they ain't gonna stand. As he said, he went from a council general, which we'll address, I'm sure you have more. He went from a council general back to a president. That's why he never signed anything in their prison. That's why he never signed anything in their courts, because it would render jurisdiction. As this fight continues, you'll see how he laid out the plan and all the other things that was going on. He was waiting for all of the people who were out there playing like they're fighting for his freedom, acting as if they're doing this for him, but they were creating their own platforms of ego, as he expressed, from coming from him, their own platforms where they can get off, show who they are, as opposed to acknowledging the source that created you and using your abilities and your gifts. If you have the gift of gab, if you have the gift, the ability to speak to masses of people, the fact that that gift was given to you by Panatharu, you should use it for the upliftment and the spreading of Wunuwapu.
That's right.
Everyone. You don't take what he's given you, a gift that he's given you for your own benefit. His gifts that he has, who does he use it for? So what gives you the audacity to take a gift, a minuscule gift at that, and you run with it for your own benefit? And he said he would die before he allows innocent Nuwapians to be used or misused. So it's up to us to take what we have, our gifts as Nuwapians, and stand up and give it back to him. Because we wouldn't be here without it. We wouldn't be able to talk articulate and stand on a corner and act as if you've been guided all of a sudden. All of a sudden you go from a nigga working for AT&T, now you're someone's leader. Outside the scope of what the master is giving you. You didn't create it, you're a creator now. But you couldn't create the people, get them out of poverty. But all of a sudden you have the answers to the problems of the troubled world. And you stand in line paying an electric bill like everybody else. So we're at the point where, at any day, this international application has to be seen by the international court, has to be addressed. And the provisional measures in there, that's a part of the application that we didn't get to, for the preservation of our rights, the rules of their court states that for the preservation of our rights, we have the right to have our sitting president amongst us. Period. There's no response that anyone on the planet can give that says, well, we locked him up because of... No, that doesn't equate. You can't do that. So the international court has to, regardless of whether this proceeding happens in August or October or whatever the case, they have to see that as a priority, because if they allow him to continuously be tortured until the hearing, the international hearing, they'll be just as guilty as the people who are doing it. So the moment they have it in their hands and they see that a president is incarcerated, a judgment has to be declared to immediately release him. Right now, we're gathering the supporting documents. There's many documents that support that's been going on since 1992. One of the supporting documents that they stated in New York here when they gave him a psychological evaluation, they acknowledged him as Native American. Another point of fact is that in the census in Athens, they also acknowledged him as Native American chiefs, black people. In the prison, which we just laid out, and they said the reason why we're not lowering your security level is that you're the head of the United Hawaiian Nation. Head means president. So whoever wrote that is going to be in serious trouble. So there's other supporting documents. The document that's supported from your end will be the ledger. That's where you come in. The ledger states that you've accepted him as your president since 1992, and you still accept him. Now, that's what everyone will sign. We have a notary here. Now, any questions of doubt, I'm sure. You know when you're fighting the beast, you have to have leverage. Got that? There's a lot of people saying, well, what if they do with the application, et cetera, et cetera? We got that covered, and we're going to explain how. What we found out in international law, international court proceedings, there's certain cases that's been taking place over the years. Every year there's about 4 or 5 cases in international courts. There's different applications presented. One of the ones we found out, actually 2, where a case was brought against the United States, right, for incarcerating a foreign national, a Paraguayan. The United States incarcerated a foreign national from Paraguay. They sentenced him, tried him, convicted him, and sentenced him. 1963, Convention of Diplomatic Relations, Article 36, it states that any state that incarcerates or detains a foreign national, they have to immediately let their country know. Who's familiar with this? Okay. Let the country know of the foreign national that they have him or her in custody. They cannot just take him and lock him up and send him away. They have to immediately, without delay, let the embassy know. Let the country know, whatever way they can. They didn't do that with this guy named Frank Greer, Paraguay. They didn't do it with these 2 German nationals. And it was the 80s, they locked up 2 German nationals. They were twins in the same manner. I'm like, wow, why don't they? It's like the U.S. gets beat up in international court. No one knows about it. Well, they brought this case in international court against the U.S. the same way we bring in a case against them for us as indigenous people and the violations of our sovereign head of state, Dr. Malachi, our president. Same way, they brought the case against them. They won, but Paraguay won only after they executed the Paraguayan national. By the time it hit international court, they didn't find out until years later that their national was incarcerated. Several years later. This is a gross breach. Because you're saying that you had this man incarcerated 10 years and you didn't let our government know. We could have assisted him. Paraguay could have stepped in with legal assistance, explanation of cultural differences, which may have helped him make better decisions in his criminal proceedings, right? Could have assisted him in multiple ways. They could have assisted in evidentiary hearings. They could have brought a key witness that helped him get exonerated. It doesn't matter. They violated their right, Paraguay's right, to have communication with their national.